Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I would like to welcome you to the Sunday Book Review. The Sunday Book Review is the series where I discuss books which impact the compliance practitioner, the legal professional, and the business professional. I hope you will enjoy this episode. Today's pod comes to us from Suzanne Olette, Writing and Crime Reads. First, a quick word from our sponsor. Welcome to the Sunday Book Review for April 3, 2022, the April edition. And we have 4 books today for your reading pleasure in April. The first one, The Bond King, How One Man Built a Market, Built an Empire, and Lost It All. This is the engaging story of Bill Gross and the really developer of futures, derivatives, options, and other foreign exotica in the bond market. He is certainly a complex figure, and he reimagined the entire market and then lost it all. It's a fascinating story of someone who had it all, lost it all, and really was never able to make a comeback from that. Next up, The Trials of Harry S. Truman, The Extraordinary Presidency of an Ordinary Man, 1945 to 1953, by Jeffrey Frank. Harry Truman had lots of flaws that were on public display, and many of us are aware of them. His popularity soared after he became president and after he was then elected president, but his reputation was in tatters when he left office in 1953. This book details that chronicle up and down fall and really gives you an understanding about what President Truman brought to the presidency and how he was able to be an everyman while in office going forward. Next up, We Don't Know Ourselves, A Personal History of Modern Ireland by Fintan O'Toole. I found this to be a really interesting book, and frankly, I am looking forward to reading this book. It is by a well-known Irish author, and he talks about the history of Ireland really through his life. It's the history of Ireland from basically 1960 forward. He was born in the late 50s, and he talks about the changes in Ireland. It's really a fascinating book. Many in Ireland didn't really look at the problems that the country had, and he shines a light on that as well. So a really interesting book. And our final book is an interesting book entitled Diamonds, Deadlines, A Tale of Greed, Deceit, and Female Tycoon in the Gilded Age by Betsy Prioleau. This is the story of Mimi Leslie, who fed gossip columns and ran a media empire and was bejeweled and besieged by male admirers during the Gilded Age. She certainly was able to create a business empire when many women were not able to do so. And it's an interesting story of things that I think a lot of compliance practitioners need to consider in business. We have a couple of new podcasts out on the Compliance Podcast Network I'd like to tell you about. The first is Hidden Traffic, where host Gwen Hassan looks at modern slavery and human trafficking. Gwen is well known in the compliance community for her passion around this topic, and she brings that passion to this new podcast. Also, I welcome to the Compliance Podcast Network All Things Investigation, a podcast that I host where the guests are members of the Hughes Hubbard Anti-Corruption and Investigations practice. If you've ever wondered some of the questions involved in anti-corruption and internal investigations, this will be the podcast for you from some of the country and indeed world's top experts at Hughes Hubbard. Finally, I'm extraordinarily pleased to announce a 5-part podcast series at Taxman on the intersection of tax and compliance, where with my tax colleague extraordinaire Tracy Howell, we look at 5 different issues that every compliance officer needs to be aware of regarding corporate tax. It's a fascinating series that's on a topic not often explored.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.